Having a good day? Yeah, I was honestly gonna stream over the New Year's Eve, but I could not get anything ready, and at least until I get a hell of a lot better, I don't think I can do that much unless I've the uh, gotten it ready in advance. I was really counting. Well, I need I, after I need the mending book, so I really wanted to do a fucking uh, a fishing stream. I got my little girl. I might have been able to stream yesterday, but yesterday it was she has this way. She's pretty cute about it, so you can't really get mad at her. But she does this thing where she's gonna leave now. She lays on your arm. I'm talking about her, so she's leaving. I think it's kind of cute though, but she lays on your arm. You can't do anything. Um, okay, now I was wrong in an earlier stream. It was not the documentary on the lost uh, the lost temple of the Ark. It was Forbidden History, and you can find the whole series looks good. As far as there's like four or five that maybe I would say they ran a special on it. It was on around Christmas, and there's maybe four or five episodes that have to do with Jesus either directly or indirectly. And the one that I watched yesterday, and I took notes on it. And if it's something that's interesting to you, you're gonna want to go check it out because I'm only using like maybe 10% of the documentary because all I'm really caring about right now is again it's this fucking prophecy of the lost pope and or the last pope, and there's people out there who I think might be in for a little bit of a shock if God does come back. Uh, they're Because there are people that don't even follow the religion that they're speaking so much about. There's like a couple memes out on the internet. It's like, Dad, how come there's no Republicans in Star Trek? And it's because it's in the future, son. And the other one is um, they rattled off what the Republicans tend to believe. No, I'm talking about the fucking religious zealots. I mean, if you're not one, then I'm not talking about you. There are good Republicans out there, but the thing is that you're on like your last mission because if you keep voting for these people, um, if you keep voting for these fucking terrorists, you're gonna get lumped in with them. It's just that simple. I mean, it really is. There are good people, yeah, maybe you do like tax cuts and all this, but if you keep voting for people, you can't sit and ignore the you can't sit and ignore the evil shit going on by your own party and still be taken seriously, still be given a pass. Um, I don't know. It is, but the now I don't know if this is true. I know they tried to smear her with the original Catholic Church. They tried to paint her as the unknown prostitute. that was called out, and it's like no, it was clearly a different. It was a pope that did that, but there was a pope, and there was like an unwanted, there was like a prostitute that Jesus preyed upon, and fucking she washed his feet with her hair. Well, they tried to play, and she was unknown. She was just some nameless person. Mary Magdalene was not, and but they said in this documentary, well, it's a TV show, but they said in this documentary that Mary had several demons removed from her body. And I don't know if that's true or not. But that's what they claimed. And then she devoted the rest of her life to Jesus because he's the one who did it. And again, um, and then and then you get the instance they couldn't wean it all out. There was Mary was the first to see Jesus after his supposed resurrection. She was the first one to recognize that he had come back. And there was an old. This came out. This would have been around when the. This would have been around when the first Da Vinci Code book came out. There was a priest that he basically said that, as far as the apostles, as far as it came out, like with Jesus or with hang on, let me get this. But as far as it came out, like, 'cause he was talking about just empirical evidence, and he said that if Jesus came out to be married to Mary Magdalene, he said that he agreed that according to history, hang on, history would tell you that yes, a man his age would not have been allowed to speak at the temple, would have been frowned upon if he wasn't married. But he said he's talking about proof, not like habits or rituals, procedure. But he said, yeah, that's the biggest thing that they've got to as evidence that yeah, he must have been married, was the fact that they wouldn't have allowed it. It would have been not been allowed. And the and the other thing is he was sticking to the Bible. And I'll get more into this if I don't get distracted. I'll get more into this later. But they've got these. Anyways, I'll get more into that later. But he said that the other bit of evidence is there was some of his apostles after he died objected to the not being allowed to take wives. And he said that if they would have been if he'd have really been married, they would have been likely to. I think it was John. He would have likely been a little upset. He'd have been like, "Well, why can't I take a wife? Jesus himself took a wife." And it was in his letters to the church or something like that. But he would have brought that up. But and here's the thing. I just want to throw this out there. The Romans are the ones that killed Jesus. They then, and again, it looks to me like it was political. Um, the it seems to me that the Roman society, the leadership, they viewed I would say they viewed the possibility of taking over the church as an easier way of staying in power than the Roman legions. Much more cost effective. It's kind of like that from that movie Unforgiven with Clint Eastwood. That one character, well, hey, if somebody sees the queen, they're going to be hit by an awe, because of her royal nature. But he goes, the president, why not shoot a president? Why not shoot an emperor? And they'd had several attempts by this time, I believe. They'd had the third. They had the third uprising. And that was portrayed by, I think it was the third slave uprising or gladiator uprising. And I think that they had gone. I think that had been covered in the Stars epic, Spartacus, and but I really saw that they really, in my opinion, it was an easy way for them to take over. And up until recently, basically, popes were not harmed. They were considered fucking agents of God. And I think they saw that as an easier way to maintain their hold. And they saw that as the future was coming, as things were, coming and coming, it was just not cost effective to keep raising standing armies. And then historians have shown, like the guy who wrote the Jesus, hang on, the guy who had wrote the misquoting Jesus, historians have shown the evidence that the Bible's not accurate. So why should we trust the Bible? Why should we keep treating it like it's a historical document? Because he said, this historian, he said, even if the Bible was written by God, he goes, it's been copied and copied and copied and copied so much. There was something, if I might not be able to, it might not fill an entire hour, but there's one that I saw. They found some old Bible that had been, 1 minute they were saying 3,000 years, and I'm sorry, if it's 3,000 years, then it can't be Christianity, or at least not about Jesus. Because Jesus was like around 2,000 years ago, historically, But there's like an old copy that they had found a copy of, and it disproves a lot. I'll see if I can get some information on that, and maybe, but it was on YouTube, so I should definitely be able to get it. But so I don't see why anybody should take it dead serious. And and the funny thing is, when you look at the Old Testament, which is the first half of the Bible, that's the old Jewish people's Bible. And what was funny, it was Lewis Black was talking about. He goes, that these Catholic or Christian people, they, I can't really say too much about when they misquote or when they're quoting the Jesus or the New Testament, but he goes, the Old Testament, that's my people. He goes, we're definitely the experts on that. And he goes, I don't understand why they would quote, and I, as far as I'm concerned, far as a lot of Jewish scholars are concerned, they quote it wrong when when there are ample Jewish people that will be willing to do it for a small fee. And he was funny as shit. But they will sit there and tell you it's not to be taken like accurate. Even the priests, they will tell you that, well, yeah, it's allegory. It's meant to, it's a story. That's the way they look at it. And but I seriously think that if you are serious about Christian like history, you have to look at the Apocrypha and the Gnostic Gospels. The basically the stuff that is forbidden by the main church. Uh, and again, I don't want to go into two. If I ever do that, I'll do it as a standalone uh, stream. I'll do it as a standalone. I'm better, but I'm still not quite 100%. Uh, I would think you'd have to take a look at those because you can go and look like the Book of Enoch was not included, or at least parts of the Book of Enoch. And this is a guy that was he's related, well, really, I think most of us are related to Adam and Eve, if you believe it, if you believe in that thing. But he's linked to Adam and Eve. He is Noah's grandfather. Uh, there is the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. There is the Gospel of Thomas, I think. There's even a Gospel of Judas. And you have to take a look at those, and I think that those may be more accurate if you want to know the truth. Because what we got in the Bible is not the truth. And they said that the thing with Mary Magdala, she was much like Yoko Ono with the Beatles. She was really, really beloved by, Jesus or John. Yoko Ono was. And she wasn't really that saw that fondly by the others. And in one of the Gnostic Gospels, they're like, I think it's the Gnostic, they're basically, one of them is coming and whining to Jesus. Well, why do you spend so much time with her? Why do you kiss her on the mouth? Well, gee, I don't know. Gee, maybe because he likes the company of women, or he's at least bisexual. And that's your first indication that maybe being gay wasn't that frowned upon. These guys didn't have any clue why he would be so gung ho about kissing her. Uh, I don't know. Maybe they were maybe they were viewing the celibacy thing as, well. You guys have been around him for this long. You clearly don't like women. Uh, and there was a documentary. I saw this years ago. We're talking like 15, 20 years, uh, give or take a couple of years. Uh, I have not seen it since, but in it was they're talking about directly or indirectly, the church wiped out churches in North Africa, the Vatican. They wiped out churches in North Africa devoted to Mary Magdalene. Um, there are this thing I was watching, that Forbidden History. Go check it out. One of the you can watch. This is the funny thing. It seems like there's 7, 8, 9 episodes. I am not sure if there's more than 3, but you can watch most of them on Tubi or I think Roku. Some of them are on like Prime, or some of them, which I do have because it makes streaming easier. But some of them are on Max, so you may not be able to watch them. I recorded them on TV, and so until I get done with these, I'm not gonna get rid of them. But they they talked about in there, and it was their opinion. They felt that she was the one controlling Jesus, and this I'd heard before. Um, when you look at Jesus, Jesus had he had connections to his royal bloodline to like David and others that he might not have had a direct line to David, but his lineage was pretty good. Hers was better. Um, so from a power standpoint, you could see why he might have wanted to marry up, and they also took again, this is their opinion based on what they have seen, and it's all sketchy at best. But she might have been the one that was behind the church. Uh, so, you know, I don't know what to say. I'm not trying to piss anybody off, but it's just they were saying that back then she seemed to be the power behind the throne. And when you add all that up, oh, excuse me. When you add all that up, maybe the prophecy of the popes, Fatima and Nostradamus. I'm gonna see if I can find it for you. Um, there we go. Okay, I can't. I couldn't find it. There is there was one of this I did this I saw online. Uh, it was one of the things on the prophecy itself that I found on YouTube. Well, the it was another prophecy. It wasn't Nostradamus, I don't think. It wasn't the popes, but the one guy had said it was either the Notzinger, the Notzinger, uh, or some other high-ranking person in the Catholic Church, but they were asked about it, and it was an apocalyptic prophecy. It was just about the end of the church. I want to say there was like three 3 days of darkness or some shit like that, and he had said that if you, because I've been kind of, this was just an offshoot, but this one here, if I didn't misunderstand it, if I'm not taking it wrong, um, but he basically confirmed that that one there was pretty much the same as uh, the third Fatima one. Oh, come on. And so, like, there was that going on. And the speculation is because this is the reason he was asked, whoever it was. I believe it was Ratzinger, but if or Notzinger, it's the Pope right before the one we currently got. It came out that he was a Nazi during World War II, so he started being called the Notzinger by me and others, and uh, but this guy said, because the theory is that they haven't released the entire uh, third prophecy of Fatima, and it makes the speculation I heard is if it was just about the Pope walking on, walking up a hill uh, on dead bodies or surrounded by dead bodies and then kneeling and then being shot. I'm not so sure that would have been, because it'd be something you could prepare for. To me, it's got to be something worse. I firmly believe, I think they're right. I think they're fairly accurate when they're saying that it had to be something more than that. And this other one, again, I don't want to. I wasn't taking notes that day. I wasn't feeling good. Uh, but that there, if I've got it right, it, it was like about the Antichrist and Satan, and and I mean it was pretty bad. And then and again, I tried to, I about half of the ones I saw that day I just didn't watch because they were just really preachy. You had people saying that they always, because apparently this one we got now, who I think is a good guy, um, he is a Francisco friar or whatever. Whatever he is, I want to say it's a Franciscan. It's like a extreme sect of Christianity, and they oh, we knew that that'd be the end. Is they're communists, and I mean, and then I'm like, it sounded a lot like the right does in the politics. And so I couldn't watch too much of that. We got enough of that on the TV now without dealing with that shit. Um, and because like when you get to it, it sounds like, and again, I want to get into there was a video I saw on YouTube. It shouldn't be that hard to find. It's just something I saw a long time ago. Uh, but when they did the prequel to Aliens, Prometheus or whatever, uh, there were deleted scenes, and fact they might not have. Most of them weren't even shot, but it was originally in the script. And the thing that they had in the script was they wanted to know why they because basically they created the aliens to fucking wipe us out. And when they were asked why they were destroying us, they said, we sent you someone that we had trained to lead you." And you killed him. And they made it sound a lot like Jesus. They didn't give him a name. But it sounded a lot like Jesus. And that is what the prophecy of Fatima sounds like. It sounds like people who were shepherding over us were really upset at the church. Because, I mean, again, I said this, I think, the last time. They didn't give this prophecy to the church. They gave the prophecy to the children. And they didn't give the prophecy to the church hierarchy. They gave it to, as like a fucking, it was a priest who came to visit and saw the luxury that they lived in. And it makes it look like, hey, it was basically the guy was given the prophecy because he didn't like the way he saw them behaving. And then you hear these stories that, like, well, maybe Mary Magdalene was more important than Jesus. Maybe, I hear these rumors that, the church went and wiped out a whole church full of women that caused, like all the churches were dedicated to Mary Magdalene. They had female priests, and the church wiped them out. You hear about the stories of the Oseen, it was assumed that Jesus was a part of. They were a group of Gnostic Catholics or Christians, or maybe they weren't called Christians until he died, but they were people who viewed things as differently. There was like a movie I saw. It had I just watched it. It had like the younger Crawley daughter from from Downton Abbey. It had the the fucking prick from the fucking prick from the Harry Potter series. His old man was a fucking bastard too. He was in it, and he was the only one who might have been like, well, he wasn't really as famous. He was more not liked because of that, but he was in it. He played a pretty noble character, Tom Fenton or something like that. But I wish I could remember what the other chick was from. They played the same kid, but that one was based on the Cathars. And again, I have no idea. That one there I don't even want to talk about until I learn something about the Cathars. But they're like another sect of early Christians that were fucking wiped out by the church. And like if this was right, and again I don't know, but like one of the Crusades might have been after them. You know, I've been basically taught that they were after the Muslims. Well, one of the according to this movie, and it was a movie, not a documentary, so I don't know, but they were looking at least at least one of the cat or at least one of the crusades. It was at least in part about wiping them out. And then again it talked about the again they again this stuff this I've heard before. Maybe not this one this specifically, but they talked about the the cup of Christ, the Holy Grail, and they every time, and again it was a movie, but every time they brought it up, they go, "Well, you're talking about the mythical, the historic, the one that's viewed by the church," and they go, "That really wasn't true," and and they were talking about, and I don't want to, I don't know if it's true, so I don't want to put this in your head, but they were talking about what it was, and like the rumors about the end of the church are based on maybe just maybe these rumors about the end of the church are and the antichrist and all this that they're mentioning, maybe it's not a bad thing. Maybe it's based on the fact that church has been lying about Jesus. Maybe you could that maybe it's accountability for the church, the end of the church, based on the church lying about Jesus and using him to as a way to get rich and avoid taxes. Uh, and that's why I again I think it's at least possible if if this is coming true, yeah, maybe it is, but maybe they shouldn't be too happy about their shit. Maybe they shouldn't be too happy about their shit at all. Um, I don't know. I just I don't know. But well, I'm gonna just fish for a little bit longer, and if I think about anything else, I'll But I'm pretty much done with the thing about the history of it. But next time, I'll try to focus on Templars and the priest Sinclair. Uh, Next time I'll focus on the Templars and the I think it's Priest Sinclair. They mentioned they used his name. I don't know if they did it accurately or not. But what did they find or uncover to get special treatment and then death? Because I'll go into more on details on that. But again, any of these things, I'm watching them all one at a time, and I'm trying to look at what I can get from them. And it takes me a little bit longer to prepare these now because I can't remember I just I can't function. Even this, I took notes and I struggled a bit, but it is getting better. Uh, but because that is some, I'd heard the story before, but I never really made the connection. But recently, it really both of them guys were they really seemed linked. And I'll try and again. It's just a short little thing, and if anything, I'm just all I'm trying to do is incite a little knowledge on you, a little speculation, and get you to go out and research it yourself. But uh, oh, and then the other thing I was doing, I was watching a UFO thing. This is on the Travel Channel. Maybe I'll get an idea for some of those, but it really, it makes me wonder if that prophecy is true. And who knows? I mean, the, I mean, I'm not kidding you. Like you just had the earthquake in Japan at the time of shooting this. I don't know how long. I'm about a month behind on my videos. I just really was not feeling worth a shit. But uh, you had the earthquakes in Japan. There was a UFO one I watched. This was something of a documentary. It was on like Tubi, or I don't think it was on Prime, but it was on one of the free ones. Tubi, Roku, something like that. And they this guy was out there, and while he was doing his little UFO spiel, it was from Oregon. That one there, part of it didn't really seem to be. It seemed like, well, how did he know to put a camera there? Well, then a little bit later, there was more speculation that, okay, well, wait a minute, maybe this is more real. And then the other thing is, if he'd have been doing this as a goof, I really don't know. But if he was doing it as like a prank or lying or whatever, I think he'd have people that were acting a lot better. I really feel that he would have had better actors in there. Um, so I don't know, but that one there, he was going off, and he got up to a point where he was. Because here's the thing, like when this guy was doing it, he was speaking out about these petroglyphs or geoglyphs, and he said that, oh well, I saw them on Google, and that's what I wanted to come investigate. Well, he never showed them to you on Google, and that to me, like that right there, would have been something real easy to do. Uh, even and again, even if you want to do it like after the fact and edit it in, whatever, it would have been a lot more credible than, oh yeah, well, yeah, don't look over here. I found it on YouTube, and so and then you just go, wait a minute, like, well, why don't you show us what you saw? What made you want to go investigate it? But the thing that got me was when he was out there, he was sitting there talking, and there is indications that they are near. That volcanoes are a UFO hotspot, and I think he was talking about the recent seismic activity. And he was like basically talking like, well, yeah, there's UFOs here. So again, regardless of what he was saying, it's like the last time that volcano was active, like blue, was like 1500 AD or BC, either 1500 or 2500 years ago. And you've got this seismic activity, you've got this volcanic activity, and there was one guy from Gaia who basically was going off about how the last time they saw this was around like the last ice age. And his theory on it was uh, that the last ice age might have been caused by like gases released by the volcanoes. And now we're seeing it again. And again, who knows? May they've seen us ignore global warming. Who knows? Maybe this whole thing about scaring us into the end of the world, because Jesus is coming back, maybe that's all a fucking scam. Because we're too stupid to fucking believe anything else. It seems to me that, they're trying anything they can to get us to come to grips with it, and it isn't working. But that if it is Jesus that comes back, I think the people that are your Sunday Christians. There was like a fucking and again, I'm not saying they're all, because I worked with a really nice lady, but these right to lifers, whatever you got out there. There's a lot of them. I worked with a guy. Well, the thing that this woman said, she's like, well, why don't you believe in right to lifers? And I go, or not the right to lifers, but born again Christians. And I told her, I go, look, I'm not saying that they're all like this. I didn't really realize she was one of them at this time. I didn't know. That was not my thing. But because I was talking about George W. Bush, and I go, look, I got no problem with him being a rightful lifer, but I got a problem with him being a right to, or not a right to lifer, but a born again Christian. I got a problem with him being president because he's a born again Christian. And I think you can firmly say that any of these religions that think the world's going to end and Jesus is coming back, this was brought up by a comedian, Bill Maher. Maybe they can be on Congress, but they shouldn't have a vote on anything that, requires, for us to have a future. And because he goes, they don't think we got one. They shouldn't get to vote on the future since they don't believe we got one. And my thing with a born again Christian being a president, she goes, well, what's wrong with that? And I go, I have not met one of them yet that is a born again Christian who isn't like a recovering drug addict or recovering alcoholic, and they've basically turned in their addiction to drugs or their addictions to booze for an addiction to God. That's the way it seems to me. And you take George W. Bush. God bless him. This is a guy, I think he is far better off with his wife and, corralling around with his kids than he was when you hear the stories about him. I think that's a much better life for him. But, and it was a fucking abject disaster, but this was in the beginning. I didn't like him before it was cool. But we shouldn't have to fucking... And this fucking moron they got as a speaker now. They he basically told some friends that Jesus talked to him or some shit, and he's there to lead us into so. It's like, I'm sorry, again, he doesn't appear to be that fucking good anyways, but anybody that is hearing voices shouldn't be our leader. I mean, seriously, if this was a guy if this guy was a Muslim that thought Muhammad was talking to him, there's no fucking way. And I'm sorry, regardless of what your feelings are on it, it's the same fucking bullshit. When you got these people that think that some invisible person's fucking talking to them, And and they're waiting for the uprising of the Jewish zombie god, Jesus, to come back. That's just a malfunction of the brain that we cannot afford. But yeah, I don't know. But this is just pissing me off. And I don't completely understand it, but that is but according to something I caught off of a Silent Thunder video, there is something that has changed because I have worked like really, really hard to get the Muslim or the mending book called out in the in one of my villagers, and I haven't been able to get it. And I got a feeling that either they're just not going to be rare or they're not going to be there anymore as much, or maybe it's one of those things where it's like one of the later later like they're organizing the villagers a lot more, so maybe it's something you won't see until much later. You will not see, and I'm like, do we really have to do that? I mean, I kind of, I'm kind of okay because I never really, you only need like one of them. And once you get the mending book, but do you really got to fuck with that? I don't know. Oh, any updates? I don't have any updates on the the UFO thing, the amendment. So please maybe write your. Again, I don't know if it'll do any good at this point because I was hearing if it had been stopped, that it was going to be years before it ever came back around. But I think I was after the fact that it had been stopped, and Chuck Schumer has again voiced opposition to what is going on. And so maybe, just maybe, we'll get to the bottom of it. Maybe we'll get that. Maybe we'll get that. So maybe write your officials in Washington. Maybe write the president, and see if we can get going. And then if you're still hanging out, you've liked the channel enough, maybe you could do something to legalize assisted suicide. And you can, basically just go out, if you're doing it on YouTube or on Twitter, reach out, ask your voted elected officials, let them know that we need that. Even if I won the lottery tomorrow, I would still be asking for this, because with what's happened to me at General Motors when I was working there, as far as I can tell. I don't know. I don't have any proof. I told everything I knew to the FBI, and but you just write them. Tell them we need it. If we can watch kids get shot, when the money runs out, I don't want to have to start stealing. I don't want to have to beg to survive. I don't want to have to fucking scrimp and scave and just to fucking barely feed myself. Just write and get that done. And even if the money wasn't an issue, sooner or later I'm gonna die. And I don't want to have to be like my mom. I think I don't know what she would have done. I am positive I understand what my dad would have done, but just Yeah, if you could, it'd help out. Peace out. Have a good day.